Richard Louie and Meredith Vieira join us to share how they balance family and career while providing nurturing care with dignity and devotion.
Hi, I'm Meredith Vieira, and I'm thrilled to be here with Richard Louie, MSNBC anchor, journalist, author, to discuss his caregiving journey. 53 million Americans, 53 million, are caregivers or partners in care for a loved one with a chronic disease. Richard, you're one of them, and I'm one of them as well. In your case, it's your dad, Stephen, and in my case, my husband, Richard. So I want to start out talking about your journey. It began, I guess, 7 years ago when your dad was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, your dad, Stephen. From what I understand, he had started to forget names of family members, which was not like him.
Right.
And that led you to have him see the right folks who were able to diagnose his illness. You made a decision. You were at the top of your game. I mean, this is in your dream job. And you made a decision to walk away from it or be willing to walk away from it to take care of your dad. I want to know how you reached that decision, because I would think it wouldn't be easy.
Meredith, this is great that we get to talk about this particular subject, because as many people as you have described are living through this, yet it's not part of our, as you know so well, it's not part of our day-to-day. In fact, we say caregiver, that's a strange word. Like that's just, I don't know what that is. In fact, we don't identify with it. And I had not done that in the beginning. I know that you at the same time had said, I don't know if that's really exactly my descriptor, my lower third, if you will, right now or all the time. And for me, I look to a lot of folks like yourself who did talk about it publicly in a very open platform, that you did have a person that would need you, does need you, and in different ways and at different times. And so for my father, when he could not remember his siblings' names, the ones that he had grown up with in a cottage, born in Chinatown, San Francisco, siblings, he had 12 of them. They're not even Catholic or Irish, but they still had so many kids, right?
Yeah.
And the story, poor, one fish, lots of rice, and a lot of gravy. That was them. And he forgot their names. And that was the beginning of his journey, and a very accepting and vulnerable journey that he shared with us with Alzheimer's. And there's no way that his kids were not going to lean in and try to help him along the way.
Yeah. In my case, Richard, when I met Richard, he didn't, despite he told me he had MS on our second date, because he'd been with someone for a while. And when she found out, she sort of ditched him, and he didn't want to wait that long. He wanted to give me the out, because people were scared when they heard that. Most people didn't even really know what it was, but he didn't have what you think of as obvious symptoms of MS.
Right.
He didn't have any issues walking. He had some eyesight issues. And so I could walk into it thinking, well, this is going to be fine. And he had to explain to me, it's a long path. And I went with him to his doctor very soon after to begin to understand the journey that I would be on, maybe not in a week or a month or a year or two, and to begin to accept it. So I think, as you pointed out before, everybody's journey is a little bit different, and it kind of flows over the years.
Yeah.
Different ways.
And you said, I'm not a caregiver by that very descriptor. And what did you mean at that time when you were saying, I'm not a caregiver per se?
Because I felt more like a partner in care, Richard, and I still do, to be honest, although there are days when I definitely am the caregiver. He has bad days, and he has very good days when he's doing as much for me as I'm doing for him. And I also felt sometimes when you use the word caregiver, it diminishes the person who needs the care.
Yeah.
And I've seen that. When I see it, when we have travel, Richard uses a wheelchair, and people talk to the wheelchair. They don't see him. They see the wheelchair.
Yeah.
They say, well, does he want to do this? And I'll usually look at them and go, well, you can ask Richard. It's okay. So sometimes I feel that when I'm given the title caregiver, it allows people the opportunity to not see the person. I don't think it's done maliciously. I think people are uncomfortable with illness, essentially.
And that's part of the gap, I think, right, Meredith, as you shared your story and I'm sharing mine about you're just not that one thing, both the caregiver and the caregiving recipient. And as I've, covered the story about caregivers in recent years, I realize I'm using sometimes even the wrong sentence structures. Maybe it should be a person that is caregiving. Maybe it's a person with a disability. In your husband's case, it's Richard. Richard is a person with MS, right?
Right.
That's structural to what you're saying when people see him in a wheelchair. That's a wheelchair person. No, it's a person using a wheelchair.
Exactly. It's just the way that you verbalize it. Exactly. But to go back to your story, what made you decide, I'm going to do this? I am going to be there for my father.
Like you, I guess as the journalistic nose that we've got, I did look into what's his journey going to be like. What did the neurologist say? I went with a couple appointments. I then before that though, I reached out to my boss, Yvette Miley, and I said, I think that there's going to be a time, because this is a long journey, 7 years on average, that he's going to be going through. And I don't want to miss a lot of those days. I want to be there for most of the days. And so when it came point when he was starting to forget how to get home or try to get out of the house or fall more, I knew I had to pull the trigger. They were very gracious to say, yes, we'll find something out of the box for you, Richard. And that was the warmth of our company.
Yeah, I think I was pretty comfortable with being obvious and honest about it. I mean, I stepped away because everybody has priorities, and my priorities were my family, which was more than Richard. It was our 3 kids as well, and making sure that that unit remained healthy and sound. And it was never, I don't care about my career, and I don't want to do anything but this. I wanted to make it work with my life, but my life revolved around my family. And when there are just so many hours in the day, as you say, even when we add an 8th day to the week, there are just so many hours. So you have to juggle. And that's what life's all about, whether you have someone with chronic illness or not. You're always determining your priorities, and they have to work for you. And I think once I settled in my own head, Richard, that this was right for me, I never lost a night's sleep. I was okay.
I find that I've learned how to cry better, and I've learned how to laugh better, and I've learned how to put it all together and realize that it is a 1 + 1 = 3, and that I would never wish it, just like you would never wish it upon Richard. I would never wish it upon my father, but it is required me to kind of re-identify who I am probably in the last 7 or 8 years 2 times. That was not on my wish list of things to do.
I didn't think of that, but you said your father really taught you what selflessness is. Taking care of him taught you that. What was that lesson?
Live and do what the right thing is, and don't beat your chest doing it. And yet, as you know, in our business, you kind of do have to bring attention to some of the things you do sometimes, because you care about the topic, right? You and I care about caregiving. That's a very important topic. Family is something we both care about, and it's something we talk about a lot. So I think that's what I learned is, focus on the topic, and sometimes bring in yourself, but not all the time. And that's really important. You have done in our space just about everything anybody wants to do. I know you just executive produced a great film as well, which is out. How's it affected your view on your creativity and your career?
I think it's made me, anytime you're following a path, it becomes very linear, and you're so scared to get off it. And I've gotten off it many times because of life's circumstances.
Yeah.
What I've discovered is it's the road less traveled. You find things about yourself that you never would have otherwise. I never would have done all the different things that I did with my job if life circumstances hadn't led me to be open to other opportunities. So I think in that way, it's been a blessing. So what's your final take, Richard, from all you've learned in 7 years? When somebody says to you, what's a caregiver? What do you say?
Woo-wee. First of all, I get it. That is a tough word to understand. I will just say, it is the biggest job you ever take on for the longest amount of time, and will sit with you and give to you in ways you never thought were going to happen. And you won't be trained for it. You won't be paid for it in the ways that we think about it, right? But you will for the rest of your life, remember that whatever you did was potentially imperfect and probably imperfect, but in so many ways perfect for you specifically.
Well, Richard Louis, I really appreciate you talking to us. Thank you for sharing your journey as a caregiver and your dad's story. The book, Enough About Me, is out. When everybody views this, it will be available. So I hope people get it. It's really your journey and what you've learned about selflessness and lessons that we can all learn and should be learning during this period, actually. And also your documentary about young caregivers, Sky Blossom, is out as well. Richard Louis, thanks again.
Meredith, thank you. It was great hanging out and sharing our stories.
You too, kiddo. You take care.
Yeah, thanks.